Number 9. John Powell. In September of 2010, aspiring musician John "Fat Boy" Powell was performing with his rap group, Crazy Killers, at a party in Joliet, Illinois. The same gathering was attended by Tiffany Starts and Jimmy Mounts, aged 22 and 27 respectively. The latter was allegedly betting male partygoers $5 that they wouldn't be able to take a punch to the face from Starts. Powell took Mounts up on the bet, and a video would show him standing with his hands behind his back as Starts, who reportedly weighed a little over 140 pounds on a 5-foot 5-inch frame, was preparing to hit him. She then delivered a single blow to the left side of the 25-year-old rapper's face. He didn't seem to be majorly affected by it at first and walked away after collecting his money. Within minutes, however, Powell collapsed and was later pronounced dead at Provenna St. Joseph Medical Center. Starts' blow had ruptured an artery in his neck, and an autopsy would rule that he'd suffered brain hemorrhage induced by blunt force trauma. Starts faced charges of reckless conduct and battery, but her lawyer would ask a judge to dismiss the case against her, pointing to the fact that people get paid to get hit. Starts was eventually acquitted. Number 8. David Dowell. In December of 2019, an Australian father of 3 died after contracting an aggressive salmonella infection following a bet at a Christmas party in Brisbane. The morning after the event, 34-year-old David Dowell complained of intense stomach pain, but believed he was experiencing the effects of the alcohol intake from the previous night. His condition continued to deteriorate, and an ambulance was called. Paramedics initially thought he just had a stomach bug and didn't want to take him to the hospital, but his sister insisted. A day later, he was diagnosed with salmonella, a reaction that was first blamed on the consumption of uncooked chicken. However, a friend reported that during the Christmas party, Dowell had eaten a gecko as part of a bet. The particularities of the wager were unclear, but doctors suspected that it was how he'd actually gotten the infection. His sister visited him in the hospital and reported that he was in absolute agony and that he'd begun rotting from the inside out. Dowell's body had swollen, his lungs had filled with fluid, his urine was black, and he was throwing up green liquid. 10 days after the bet, he passed away with ingestion of a gecko written on his death certificate as a contributing factor. Number 7. Jason Venezia. In May of 2008, a student at Warwick University in England died in the aftermath of a bet that involved him speed drinking vodka. 19-year-old Jason Venezia, described as a level-headed young man by those close to him, was promised a little over $50 if he could down the remainder of a vodka bottle at a rate of 1 shot every 45 seconds. The 1-liter bottle was reportedly 3/4 full at the time that the bet was placed. Venezia downed a total of 15 shots within minutes before he was left unable to stand on his own. His friends helped him to bed, then regularly checked on him, afraid that he might choke to death on his own vomit. The following afternoon, Venezia was found dead after succumbing to acute alcohol poisoning. A post-mortem examination found that he was at least 6 times over the legal limit for drunk driving. A few months after his tragic passing, his parents criticized the heavy drinking culture endemic in university environments and also called for the legal drinking age to be raised to 21. Number 6. Brian Zembik. Canadian-born magician and high-stakes gambler Brian Zembik, also known as The Wiz, gained international attention for a bet he'd made in the summer of 1996, which resulted in him getting breast implants. There are several versions of how the bet came to be, but according to Zembik himself, he was in a restaurant in Europe with some friends. Zembik made a comment about the girlfriend of someone in his group, reportedly saying that if he had breasts like hers, he could get just as much attention as she would. As the conversation progressed, a bet was placed between Zembik and a friend in which the latter agreed to give him $100,000 if he got breast implants, but to receive the money, he'd have to keep them for a full year. The magician didn't immediately act on the bet, but after losing a considerable amount of money playing the stock market, he went under the knife. Zembik was reported to have gotten the $4,500 for the procedure by beating a cosmetic surgeon who was also a gambler at backgammon. In October of 1996 in New York City, Zembik got 38C implants placed under his pectoral muscles. He fulfilled the terms of the bet and his friend deposited the full agreed upon sum in a Swiss bank account. Zembik, however, then grew accustomed to the breasts and decided to keep them for over 2 decades, subsequently claiming that they didn't impair his relationship with women. He had a daughter in 2000 and stated that he'd only consider having the implants removed if his child would be negatively affected by them and subjected to bullying. While by his own admission, the breast bet was his most extreme, Zembik had been involved in a number of unusual wagers. These included living in a box for a week for $25,000 and sleeping for a night in New York City's Central Park with $20,000 in cash on his person. Number 5. Dao Fattah Nasi. A 20-year-old Tunisian man died in December of 2012 after ingesting over 24 raw eggs in a bet made with a friend. Dao Fattah Nasi had allegedly been promised an undisclosed sum of money if he would eat 30 eggs in one sitting. The young man had managed to consume roughly 28 of them before he started experiencing intense stomach pain. Unfortunately, his digestive system was overwhelmed and unable to process the massive raw egg intake. Fattah Nasi was rushed to the Hospital Les Aghlabides in Kairouan, but died on the way. Nutritionists may recommend a moderate consumption of cooked eggs as part of a healthy diet, but in their raw form, they may cause food poisoning and contain salmonella bacteria. Number 4. Prince Mayabi. A Nigerian man who'd recently won a sporting bet was fatally stabbed by 3 armed robbers in November of 2020 in the city of Warri, Delta State. Prince Mayabi's predictions had come to fruition, and he stood to collect roughly 15 million naira, equivalent to an estimated $36,500. He was closing up a shop belonging to his aunt in the popular Ogbe Ijo market. It was there that at around 6 p.m, Mayabi was blocked inside by 3 assailants. They stabbed the 27-year-old in multiple areas of his body before fleeing the scene with his cell phone. The victim succumbed to his injuries before he could be taken to the hospital. Several of his friends were aware of Mayabi's recent winnings and became suspects in the aftermath, but local authorities didn't disclose their identities. Number 3. John Matthews. In 2010, a British man who'd made a wager on his own life expectancy died within weeks of collecting his biggest payout. John Matthews' unusual betting streak had begun following his diagnosis for mesothelioma, a form of cancer linked to asbestos, in April of 2006. Doctors had told him that he only had a few months to live. Matthews, however, believed that he would not only defy the odds but also make some money in the process. He placed a bet of roughly $130 at 50-to-1 odds with bookmaker William Hill that he would be alive until June the 1st of 2008. Matthews indeed survived and earned over $6,500. He then made the same bet again, beat cancer for another year, and collected an additional $6,500 in early June of 2009. Then, at 100-to-1 odds, Matthews bet that he would still be alive on June the 1st of 2010. When news of his unusual wagers began to spread, Matthews told a media outlet, "I think I'm the first person in the world to bet on my own life." Even his doctors at the Harefield Hospital in Middlesex were surprised, as the longest they'd heard of someone surviving after being diagnosed with mesothelioma had been 25 months. Unfortunately, as he was only a few weeks shy of collecting over $13,000, Matthews succumbed to his terminal illness in May of 2010. William Hill worker Graham Sharp, who'd taken the atypical bet for the gambling company, reported that he was saddened to hear of Matthews' passing. Sharp felt like the bets had been giving him an added incentive to fight the disease, while also mentioning that Matthews had been directing much of his winnings towards charity. Today's topic was requested by Real Eyes, Realize, Real Lies 2004, Ruben Pulunto, and Brian Bennett. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Katie Stricker Curtis. Candace Payne earned widespread internet attention in May of 2016 after wearing an electronic mask of the Star Wars character Chewbacca that would make the associated Wookiee sounds whenever its mouth was moved. Payne's contagious laugh and enthusiastic reaction to the mask made her a viral sensation. The video amassed over 140 million views on Facebook Live, becoming its most viewed video up to that date, and grew so popular that the toy sold out from virtually every online retailer. Payne was invited onto multiple talk shows, gifted with Star Wars themed merchandise, and even inspired Hasbro to create a Chewbacca Mom action figure. The viral video was followed by a number of imitators, among the most notable of which was a 2017 clip of Michigan woman Katie Stricker Curtis, who wore a Chewbacca mask while in labor. It was reported that 32-year-old Curtis had lost a bet with her husband that resulted in her donning the Wookiee face as she was in the throes of childbirth. The video of her going through contractions as the mask was emitting Chewbacca sounds subsequently went viral as well. Number 1. Lynn Carnation. Retired Canadian Mountie Keith Wyans, a man in his 50s, and his common-law wife, Lynn Carnation, had made a bet on a Nintendo Wii game on August the 11th of 2011. The couple allegedly often waged bets involving intimate relations, and, on the night, Wyans had lost the game. As per the terms of their agreement, Wyans was supposed to have intercourse with Carnation. Both had been drinking a copious amount of alcohol at the time. When Wyans went to their bedroom, he reportedly found adult toys strewn across his pillow. From his account of the evening, the man wanted to rest up for a golf game set for the following day, and he went to sleep. Carnation was reportedly enraged by his refusal to fulfill the terms of the bet and accused him of no longer being attracted to her. She then allegedly began hitting him as he slept. Wyans reported that the behavior was highly unusual for his wife, as there'd never been any violent altercations between them in the past. He grabbed a handgun that he kept in his bedside table for protection. Then, as Carnation had allegedly returned to the bedroom with a knife in hand, Wyans fatally shot her in the head. He called the authorities, got dressed, and waited for them outside. Even though he claimed to have acted in self-defense in court, prosecutors would point to certain aspects of the crime scene that seemingly opposed the shooter's version of events. Among the most notable of them was that Carnation had been found with the knife in hand, whereas the gunshot would have likely caused her to drop it. Wyans was eventually charged with second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison with parole available after 13 years served. Thanks for watching. Would you rather attempt a backflip on concrete or a speed eating challenge with the food you least like? Let us know in the comments section below.